So let's talk a little bit about Profound. Profound is a microneedle-based temperature-controlled fractional radiofrequency, bipolar radiofrequency, for treatment of face, jawline, segmental laxity. So this is the number one, indication for Profound, and that's the way it should be positioned, okay? But we can also take it off the face and treat cellulite and hyperhidrosis and any other body application of skin type. So again, we talked about that in a different modification, but what you can see here is that our connective tissue has collagen, elastin, it also has hyaluronic acid, and basically all of that contribute to the appearance of the skin, making us look younger, as well as other properties of the skin, like skin elasticity, and collagen level decreases over time. We stop producing elastin at the age of 20, so this can contribute to skin aging. And what you can see here, whatever appears in an older person looks very similar to what happens to a young boy who has a mutation, a gene defect in his elastin gene. So the problem is sagging skin, loss of volume, loss of jawline definition, as well as wrinkles, and now with the addition of a new body cartridge, we can also address fat under the chin and neck, causing fat lipolysis. So this is the effect of Profound. Again, you can see here. So you can see here before, after one treatment session, and you can appreciate the nice improvement in the neck area and the jawline definition. Again, another patient with very nice improvement of the neck area and the jawline. This is a longer follow-up showing, again, this is one treatment session, so you get improvement at 3 and better improvement at 6 months. And we also have the 1-year follow-up from this patient, which I will show you later. This is another patient. All of these patients were done recently by Dr. Makren Alexakis in New York, and this was published now, a few months ago. And it was a very important study, which I will focus later, because it enabled us to optimize the treatment parameter, which now becomes our gold standard protocol. So again, very nice improvement of the neck area. These are patients from, this is a patient from Leaderboards in Florida. Again, very nice improvement. Another patient from her, there's a different view. So you can see some improvement like 5 weeks or 6 weeks, but it's only the beginning. So, and some of the patients will not show anything at that time point, but rather will start to show something at 3 months and then better at 6 months. So you need to tie that to the patient. It's slightly variable, but 100% of them will respond. So whoever didn't respond earlier, at some point will respond later on. It also treats wrinkles, so you can appreciate the improvement here. This is a patient from Steve Eubanks, and it has a nice effect of dermal volume, as you can see here. So all of this can be done because Profound has the unique capability of controlling the thermal injury of the connective tissue. So why do we need to have controlled thermal injury? Because we want to induce growth of new collagen and elastin. We want to tighten the skin to fill up the lost volume. We want to melt the fat effectively, not in all patients, but at least in part of them. And all of this can be done by controlled thermal injury. The problem and the challenge are, the challenges are, how do you make sure the injury is limited to the right volume of the dermis? How do you make sure that the right thermal dose is delivered? Okay? And the right thermal dose is a function of tissue temperature and the exposure time. So it's all about controlling the temperature, it's all about controlling the time and temperature as well as the location. And Profound has the unique capability of having control of all of these three parameters, which are very important in trying to translate it into clinical effect. So what you can see here is basically taken from a paper published analyzing the thermal damage in cartilage cells. And I picked this up because cartilage is very much similar in its constitute to whatever we have in the connective tissue. Okay, so it has a connective tissue, so the cells over there are the cells in this type of tissue, and their capability and viability are very similar to whatever happening in the dermal tissue. So what you can see here is basically the cell viability is a function of a temperature. So obviously, once you expose these type of cells to a constant time, but you increase the temperature, obviously, once you increase the temperature, these cells start to die. They don't die immediately, but at some point they will die. And therefore, the cell viability decreases as you go up with the temperature. What you can see here is another way of looking at it. So that's actually measure you the time to get a certain injury to this type of cell as a function of temperature. So if you increase the temperature, and as long as you increase the temperature, you get more of the cells dying, then obviously you can also get some injury to these cells at the lower temperature, but then you will need a much longer time to get the same effect. So again, this is talking about the threshold temperature that is needed to kill 37% of the cartilage cell as a function of exposure time. So if you do 64 degrees, it will take you really minimal time in terms of like second to have these cells dying, as opposed to if you go down to 50s and 40 degrees, then obviously you will need a much longer exposure time to get the same type of effect. And these two measurements of what is the cell viability as a function of temperature, as well as what is the temperature threshold and the time duration at that threshold that is needed to kill a certain amount of the cell, this is what we call the thermal dose. So the question is, how can we take this and translate it into the parameters of using the Profound to get the correct thermal dose that we need to get the aesthetic and desired aesthetic effect we want to get in the patient? So that's the question. So again, we want to make sure the injury is induced exactly where we want it. So we want it in the dermis. And we do it correctly, and we can target it correctly with the Profound because it's a minimally invasive, because we have needles. So we know exactly where we are going. We know exactly where is the location. So location is taken care of. So now we need to make sure we have the correct thermal dose, okay? And to make sure we get the correct thermal dose, you must have a tight control of tissue temperature and the duration of tissue heating with real-time temperature feedback. So all of this was implemented in the Profound. Now, if we go back to Igor's class, we talked about indirect temperature measurement because we don't really have temperature sensor that measure the temperature. Rather, we are measuring the change in skin impedance, and based based on that, we know the change in temperature, but that's not the case here. The case here is real-time temperature measurement. 10 times a second, the system actually measures temperature and adjusts the power to be able to get the target temperature throughout the pulse duration. And this is regardless the skin condition, regardless the skin impedance, regardless the changes between patients. So that's very important. Now going back to the question, what should be the correct thermal dose? As I mentioned, this last study from Dr. McRae and Alexiades allows us to determine the correct optimal parameters for Profound. What we did is we tried to set up temperature going from as low as 52 to as high as 67. We kept the pulse duration at 3 seconds, and we evaluated the efficacy based on blinded review of the images, and we tried to grade the improvement in wrinkles as well as the improvement in laxity and the overall improvement in the appearance of the face. And what we found out is that the optimal thermal dose is at 67 degrees, 3 to 4 seconds. Now, let's try to look at what is the time temperature profile and what happens to collagen at this range of temperature. And what you can see here is the threshold of starting to denature collagen, and this is shown here in the blue line, as opposed to the threshold of having the collagen completely denatured at this range of temperature. So collagen start to denature, it starts to denature actually at 43 degrees. But at 43 degrees, you will need a much longer time duration in order to have it denature. If we're talking about few seconds of a pulse, then obviously 2 seconds at 63 degrees are somewhere where we start to denature collagen, and if we go higher, then we get to much lower pulse duration to start to denature it. But to start to completely denature collagen, obviously this will be starting over 70 degrees and up. So the question, do we really need to completely denature the collagen to get the correct thermal, to get the desired aesthetic effect we would like to get? And the answer is no. Based on medical literature, based on the science, and based on the knowledge up to now, we know that actually we don't want to get to fully denatured collagen to get the best induction of collagen remodeling. Rather, we would like to be in this area of partially denatured collagen. So this area where we also found clinically is the best parameter to treat with the Profound actually are 67, 3 to 4 seconds. Okay? So let's talk a little bit about technology, and Danny, please step in whenever you need to support me. So it's designed for precise and consistent energy delivery. It has a real-time temperature and impedance feedback control. Target temperature is reached and maintained regardless of the tissue impedance, and this allows you for consistent fractional thermal injuries within the deep dermis. What you can see here is a schematic representation. You have on the applicator a cooling plate that protects the epidermis, okay? And then because you want to focus on the deep dermal remodeling, this is one needle. You can see the thermocouple is here, and it goes 2 millimeters under the skin into the reticular dermis to cause deep fractional lesions in that area. Okay, so again, we have a real-time temperature feedback. So we have and we reach the optimal time temperature target consistently. So we have a precise control over the thermal endpoints of the treatment. Okay? Again, we are checking the temperature, measuring it every 10 times a second, and basically 96% of the energy is absorbed in the dermal layer. And this actually proves you that this real-time temperature feedback really works and allows you for consistent energy delivery. Each one of the colors here represent a pair of the needles. Okay, so for each one of them you measure the skin impedance during the pulse duration. So you can see it's slightly different from one pair to each one, from one pair to other, and then you see the system for each one of these pairs of needles adjust the power throughout the pulse duration. It takes you about 1.5 seconds to get to the target temperature. In this case, it was set up to 70. Oh, sorry. In this case, it was set up to 70 degrees, and following this 1.5 second, basically it was maintained throughout the pulse duration. And although we had changes in skin impedance and changes in the power. Okay? So again, consistent energy delivery is a very important feature, and going back to the question before, this differentiates us from our competitors, who may claim to have it but won't really have it. Okay? So, it's the first and only device with full thermal dose control. The temperature is set by the physician, it's controlled in real time by the device in the treated area. Exposure time is set by the physician and accurately controlled by the device. Okay? In addition to that, you have a unique proprietary applicator needed design that enables you the excellent control of the treated zone in the dermis. So the energy is basically delivered in the right amount in the desired area. So the other important feature is the fact that we have a lot of clinical data and scientific data in publications. Okay, so these are peer-reviewed papers in well-known scientific journals. So you should emphasize it. It's about 8 peer-reviewed papers and that support what we are saying. So we are not just claiming things in the air. We have a background and basis for all of them. This was a first paper, and I think we have all of these papers for you, and I encourage you to read them because it will give you more insight to how much work and how much data was incorporated into designing this procedure. So this is more of, and Danny here is an author of many, if not all of this paper, I think, and so this was a model that was developed to get the optimal treatment parameters. So we didn't know at that time that we should be at 67, 3 to 4 seconds a second. So we did a range of temperature, and we did thermal modeling of the volume that is in the skin, and then we verified on human patients to see the histology. And what you can see here is that using the regular cartridge, and we'll talk later about the new cartridge with the different engine, we actually deposit the energy in the deep dermal, so we don't affect the fat, we don't affect the blood cells, we don't affect the sebaceous gland. With the new cartridge, we still don't affect the blood vessels, but we do try to address fat and sebaceous gland, so this is important, and we'll talk more about it later. Again, another one of the very first study, so again, we tested temperature going from as low as 60 to as high as 80 because we didn't know what should be the right temperature setting. And what you can see here are fractional lesions of injury in the deep dermis, and in between there are area of, you can see healthy collagen and healthy dermal tissue. And again, you can see that what is nice about Profound, and this is something you should emphasize to the doctors, and the doctor should emphasize to the patient, is that the patient creates his own new skin over the time. It's not that you inject different chemical or compounds into the skin. It is his own dermal tissue that he creates. And what you can see here is an area of the old collagen versus the new collagen that is basically generated in the dermal tissue. Now, in addition to that, and that's very important to emphasize, is the fact that you now deposit a lot of elastin, new elastin in the tissue, and this is a component that we don't generate anymore after the age of 20. And this is very different from other approaches and other competitors. They did not show increase in elastin. Actually, Profound is the first device that was energy-based.
That's what I was saying this morning. You know, that's where we wrote a profound amount of new elastin. That's where the name Profound is coming from. It's from that publication. That's like we made the front page of the Red Journal in January 2009 with this. And as you will show a little bit later, but we talked about that, the importance of elastin to restore the jawline and to remove the turkey neck is very, very important. And those are the elastic bands in the dermis that are responsible for that. So when you talk to your customer, talk about elastin. Talk about what it does, because we are the only company with histological proof of elastin production. And it's because of the fact that we have the temperature feedback and we always reach the optimal spot, 67 degrees C, 3 seconds. So that's very, very important.
And again, the new dermal volume, your own dermal volume that is now created. So we have the old collagen, and we have an area of mix of old and new, but we also have a lot more new hyaluronic acid. And all of this together with elastin, contributes to the new dermal volume that the patient generates by its own. And that's also important to tell the patient. That's why it takes time to see the result, because you generate it by yourself. It takes time to generate new collagen, new elastin, new hyaluronic acid, as opposed to just injecting it but then get temporary results. This publication actually summarized the FDA trial that was done back then. I think what year it was done, 2010?
We started in 2007 and we completed in 2009. We got the FDA clearance in August 2009.
Okay. And it was a very large study, 100 subjects, 10 different centers in the US. It was profound treatment. Again, we didn't know the right temperature, so we used the range of temperature, but today we know that we should do it at 67 for 3 seconds. Even so, we didn't have the optimal parameter. Results were like 100% response rate with an average of 26% improvement in wrinkles. And very important, it was very safe and patients were very satisfied. So what you can see here is again the improvement at 3 months and 6 months, an average of 2 grades improvement in wrinkles at 6 months. This is a lot. By the way, FDA set up a success criteria of 1 grade of improvement is enough to get FDA approval. So our success criteria was way above what is considered by the FDA. So it was, of course, approved. And again, very high patient satisfaction. This is very important also in the eyes of the FDA. So it's always considered to be a success criteria as well by the FDA. This paper is a very nice paper by Andrea Wiley and Susan Himmer, where they basically shown the benefits of creating new elastin to the appearance and the functionality of the skin. So again, 44 patients did profound treatment, and what we did here, we used a nice model, it's called the Young model, that measures the skin elasticity. So you stretch the skin and then you measure the time it takes to the skin to get to its original condition. And this is a measure of skin elasticity, and the study shown that by using this type of treatment, you're not only improving the appearance of the skin, but rather also the properties of the skin and making it younger by having higher elasticity.
Yeah, the skin is more pliable, and it will the snapback time is faster. So it's like a baby skin. When you deform the skin, it snaps back at the baseline place very, very fast. And that's a consequence of the new elastic fibers that are put in the earth. So not only we're able to see that histologically, but we're able to measure a improvement in mechanical performance of the skin.
So, and this is very important, especially for the older patients, where you have this rigidity and stiffness of the skin. Suddenly you get the skin younger, function younger. That's really nice. One of the patients from the study, another patients, and other patients. Again, I gave the presentation, so you have all of the before and after for you available. So I just, take your time, look at the before and after, learn the system before you sell it. This is another study done by the Jeff Dover group in Boston, where Dr. McReynolds said it, which is, by the way, one of the physicians who has done maybe 1,000 patients so far with the She's one of our leaders in this area. She really believes in the technology from the very first beginning, and she helped us to get to the gold standard protocol. So this study, she tried to compare it to a facelift. So as you said before, it's really turned out to be 37 degrees of a surgical facelift. So that's important that you compare it to a facelift, compare it to something that the physician knows when you come to position it. And again, 2 patients from this study, again, very nice improvement. Look at the nice definition of the jawline. I mean, this is really incredible, as well as the volume. Look at the difference here in the volume between the two. So significant improvement. And going back to the most important study in terms of determining the gold standard protocol, 3 treatment groups. The first group treatment was done at between 52 to 57. The rationale of going down was we basically tried to eliminate the need for injections, which turned out to be not needed because we really simplified the way we do the injection of the anesthesia by this time. But we wanted to see if we can get effective by doing so. And then we did 2 other temperature, 62 and 67 degrees. And the fact is that the best, all of them responded very well, by the way. If you look at the percent responded for wrinkles, laxity, and overall, you can see nice improvement for all groups. But the 100% for everything, this is the right one to choose. Okay? So what I'm going to show you is actually many pictures from all patients in all groups, so you can imagine yourself and appreciate yourself the improvement. Again, just when we talk about the temperature, let's go back again to this partially denatured collagen zone to show you where we are. So this is the zone, and this is where we are when we choose 67 for 3 seconds. And this is how it looks like when you treat the patient at this temperature. Okay, so single treatment, look at the nice improvement over the neck. This is a patient with much better baseline condition, but you still see the change. Look at this and this patient, and that patient, and that patient. So all of them 67 degrees, 3 seconds. Okay? Now let's see what happens if we move down and pick up 63 degrees for 3 seconds. So where we are on the zone of collagen denaturation, we are really on the borderline of getting partially penetrated, okay? So we are not optimal, but let's see what it does. Still, you get improvement, okay? So very nice improvement, I would say. Again, someone with a better condition, but nice improvement. This one is well. It's a younger patient, so better baseline condition, and another patient. So again, you see improvement, okay? Even so, you are on the borderline. And now, what happens if we go down? If you go down, you're really out here. So again, we wouldn't expect to get as good result, but let's see what the before and after shows you. And again, you do see some improvement, okay? There is a change. And definitely look at the jawline definition here as opposed to here. This is another patient from the lower temperature, and again, another patient. So now I would like to show you that indeed the treatment is long-lasting. So we have a longer follow-up. We talk about the 6 months and the 12-month follow-up, and you can see all of them together. So again, we saw this patient before, but now look at the 1 month, 1 year follow-up. Okay, this is one treatment session. And again, another patient. Actually, this patient, if you look at her, she's getting better over time, and she has the best results at 1 year. And she might even improve more than that once we get to the longer follow-up. Again, another patient, and she gets better improvement from 6 months to 1 year. That's very important, and you need to tell them. And today we even have a 2 years follow-up to show improvement. So it's long-lasting. So it's not like Sublime. There is no way you can compare it to Sublime. I'm telling you that. So it's a matter of positioning it correctly. So what we can treat with Profound? Nasolabial fold, to volumize the chip, to treat the marionette, and very importantly, the jawline definition and the structuring of the mouth. Okay? How are we treating today? I think many of you saw the treatment yesterday, and we'll see the demos once you do that, but basically we treat the mid-lower face. We try to do not more than 150 insertion total, and this will take you a maximum of 35, maybe 40 minutes.
By the way, all of the picture from the 3 groups that you just saw, that's the treatment that was done.
Yes, this is the treatment, okay? So that's it, okay? So, to summarize the advantage, we create dermal volume, so we induce a generation of significant amount of collagen and hyaluronic acid. We enhance the skin elasticity, okay, because we can produce elastin, and we tighten the skin, so we have dramatic improvement in the segmental area of the face, and it's very effective for wrinkle reduction. Now we can also melt fat, and this is the addition of the body cartridge. So the body cartridge can go also for the face, for the submental, I would say, application. And we are planning on combining the 2 cartridges together to have one treatment protocol. Again, very important, it's long-lasting results, okay? Much longer than filler, so you should tell. And then going back to the story of natural skin as opposed to getting something, foreign going into your body, which may give you the Barbie face look that many patients don't want to get.
Fine, so the long